Welcome back to the Metal Matt Podcast. I'm your host, Metal Matt, as always. And tonight we are going to be talking about the one, the only, the legendary, the Prince of Parody himself, Mr. Weird Al Yankovic. But before we do that, I just want to give another quick shout out to my friends, my blood, Chuckys Playground. I will say this is the best forum to be on right here, right now. We are so friendly. We have friendly people coming up every day. Sporadically, we get new members. And if you want to be part of this great place, feel free to sign up at Chuckys Playground. I'll give the link in the description. We do all types of things. We can do live streams on occasion. We do fanfics. We talk about all 6 Chucky movies as well as the 7th one coming up in the future. Movies, music, television, games, whatever is on your mind, you can talk about it. And so I encourage you, as a moderator, I encourage you to join us at Chuckys Playground. I'll give the link in the description, and I'll see you on the playground. And now we're going to skip the news because there really hasn't been any news in, the week I've done this. So I'll just go ahead and just talk. Actually, we're going to play another round of Shoot the Shuffle. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. That's the unofficial theme song, by the way. And number 1 is The Prophet Song by Queen from A Night at the Opera. I think A Night at the Opera is probably Queen's best album, and this is an 8-minute song. Queen are epic at epic songs, and this is absolute proof. Number 2, Orion by Metallica from Master of Puppets. Great thrash album, and it's a great instrumental by Metallica, who we may talk about in the future on the show. Number 3, Bad Blood by Ministry from Dark Side of the Spoon. Ministry, great industrial metal band. This is one of their best songs in my opinion. Number 4, Jekyll and Hyde by Judas Priest from Demolition. Back when they had Ripper Owens as their singer, he did a great job, and this one is a good song off that album. Number 5, Ghouls Gone Wild by Alice Cooper from Welcome to My Nightmare. And, Alice Cooper, great as always. We may even talk about him in the future on the show. And this is a good song from his most recent album, Welcome to My Nightmare, with a number 2. Number 6, Threshold by Slayer from God Hates Us All. God Hates Us All, underrated album in my opinion. Great Slayer album. Number 7, No Stranger to Love by Black Sabbath from 7th Star. I believe this was back when they had Glenn Hughes as their singer. I think that's his name. I could be wrong. But this was back when Tony Iommi wanted to go solo, but he was forced to put the Black Sabbath name on it. It's a ballad, not necessarily a Black Sabbath song, but this was the 80s. Everybody was doing it, so I forgive you. Number 8, Is There Anybody Out There by Pink Floyd from The Wall. I don't even think I need to say anything about The Wall. It's a classic, and the song is a good one. Mostly instrumental with acoustic guitar, beautiful acoustic guitar near the end. This is just great. Number 9, Eat Some More by Alice Cooper from Brutal Planet. A great industrial song from one of Alice's most underrated albums, Brutal Planet. And finally, number 10, No Sleep Till Brooklyn by Beastie Boys from License to Ill. Great rap metal song, one of the most early ones from 86, I believe. And this is very good. Now, Shoot the Shuffle is over. And now it's time to talk about the main event. Mr. Weird Al Yankovic. Sorry. And I became a fan of... So anyway, I became a fan of Weird Al around 2007, I'd say. Straight Outta Lynwood had just come out, and I was on the internet. I was just figuring out exactly what the internet was and how great it was. And, everybody on the internet just kept talking about Weird Al, Straight Outta Lynwood, Weird Al. And so I decided that I had to check this out, for myself. And I think I want to say the first album I got from Weird Al was Poodle Hat. and that was a great album. I don't definitely want to talk about it later on, but that was a great album that I just absolutely adored. And I just went on YouTube and watched all the Weird Al stuff, all his music videos, his entire Al TV thing, everything that he did. And I just thought it was so funny. And that's just how I became a fan. I remember I used to watch Dare to Be Stupid on our computer when I first moved to the place that I'm at now, and it brings back great memories. I mean, it just brings back tons of just great memories, listening and laughing with Weird Al. So the first album that he did was a self-titled one in '83 called Weird Al Yankovic. And that first album, it's okay. Like, it's not the best thing he's ever done. Like, it's kind of like all debut albums. You could tell that he was going to get better, but this first one is kind of alright. And one thing that's pretty interesting is, one, there's no polka medley, and two, all the songs are done with accordion. And that's interesting, but it's just, I'm not a huge fan of the accordion on every song. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but there are some songs I like on here. Ricky is pretty good. I Love Rocky Road. It's that's all right. I like the Joan Jett version a lot better, but I think this one's okay. Stop Dragging My Car Around. It's pretty cool. Another one, Rides the Bus. I wish it was more like the original, but for what it is, it's pretty cool. And Mr. Frump and the Iron Lung, awesome. Like, Weird Al, I love Weird Al's dark humor, and that song is just a classic dark song of his. So, all things considered, the first album, it's not that great in my opinion, but it does have a few good songs on there, and you could tell that he was only going to improve as time went by. And the next one is In 3D, and this one was much, much better than the first one. The songs are more in tune with the originals. They don't use the accordion on every song. And of course, we have Eat It, which is probably one of his best, if not his best parody of Michael Jackson's Beat It. And Midnight Star, that's okay. But I think it still holds up today, with TMZ and all these, what they call tabloid websites and newspapers and all that kind of stuff. And the Brady Bunch is a parody of The Safety Dance by Men Without Hats, I think they're called. And that's pretty funny. I Also on Jeopardy is great. I love that one. One of my favorite parodies by him. Polka's on 45, his first ever polka medley. And it mostly consists of classic rock songs and a few contemporary songs at the time. Like 1984, I think it was released. And then there's like My Generation by The Who, Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, Hey Jude by The Beatles, Every Breath You Take by The Police, Burning Down the House by Talking Heads. It's just a lot of really cool songs in there. And we have Mr. Popel. Yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. That's one of my favorite original songs by him. It has this B-52s like quality to it, and it's just it really gets the point across, and it's really funny. King of Suede is another underrated parody of The Police of King of Pain by The Police, and it's really cool. It's really cool. So overall, it's a pretty cool album, Like, I'd say it's probably my favorite Weird Al album. It's definitely up there. So in '85, we have Dare to Be Stupid. This is a pretty good album as well. And the first parody is Like a Surgeon, a parody of Like a Virgin, like Madonna. And this is pretty funny. The video is also pretty funny as well, because he tries to dance like Madonna. And really the comedy comes from the fact that he's not doing it well. Like, he cannot dance if his life depended on it. And I think that's where the comedy really comes from. And Dare to Be Stupid, the song is just great, a great Devo style parody. And, it's just great. One More Minute, cool doo-wop type sound to it. This Is the Life, the kind of ragtime stuff that they used to listen to back in the 20s and 30s and all that stuff. And it was also like the theme song to a film called Johnny Dangerously, which starred Michael Keaton back in '85, I think. It's a little bit past my time, but it's still interesting to listen to. And Hooked on Polkas, that's a good one as well. And he does like Quiet Riot and Footloose and that type of stuff. So it's really cool. Then we have Polka Party, and this is where it kind of went down a little bit. I think it was like the first album that wasn't really commercially successful, and I can see why that is, but and there are some good songs on here. Like Doggy Dog, the Talking Heads style parody, that's a great one. Addicted to Spuds, that's okay. The Polka Medley is pretty cool. And Toothless People, that's a good one. That's a good underrated one. And Christmas at Ground Zero, yet again, his dark humor really coming out, and it's probably his best darkly humorous song. And in '88, we have Even Worse, and a parody of Michael Jackson's Bad called Fat. And that's pretty funny. And Lasagna, a parody of La Bamba, and that's great as well. Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White, kind of that parody of 80s hard rock, glam metal type stuff. And that is, again, up there with originals like Mr. Popel and Mr. Frumpany Island, stuff like that. His originals, it's really good. And Velvet Elvis, a great Police style parody. The song's just 6 words long. A parody of Got My Mind Set on You by George Harrison. And Good Old Days, yet again, another greatly, darkly humorous song. So Even Worse was a lot better than Polka Party. And I'd say it was, at the time, it was probably his best since In 3D. And then in 1989, Weird Al starred in his first ever movie called UHF. And UHF is criminally underrated. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. In some ways, it kind of feels like a whole bunch of skits piled up into one movie. But there's like a plot going on there, and it's really great. It's really funny. Definitely check it out. And he did a soundtrack to it called UHF, Original Motion Picture Soundtrack, music from the movie and other stuff. And it's basically a Weird Al album. It's basically a studio album. Instead of like original songs, there are some original songs, but in here there are skits like Spatula City and Gandhi 2, which are taken straight from the movie. He also has this Money for Nothing parody, which is okay. Hot Rocks Polka, which is actually the first polka, and I think the only one that all the songs are by one artist, and that artist is Rolling Stones. And that's a great one as well. Spam, parody of Stan by R.E.M. UHF is, the song is great as well. I need to mention one thing. The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota. It's sort of that style parody of, I cannot think of his name right now. Gordon Lightfoot, I think was his name. Like, the folk artists of the early 70s, that type of stuff, that acoustic kind of folky rock songs. And basically details a family's trip to see the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota. That's just that's a really cool kind of road trip type song, you know. So in 1992, he did Off the Deep End, and this was really his big return album because it's just awesome. You know, It Smells Like Nirvana, great parody, really brought him back to popularity. And the video is awesome because it looks exactly like the Nirvana one. And it has all these great jokes, and it's just awesome. Trigger happy parody of the Beach Boys and all this surfer rock type thing. And I can't watch this underrated parody of MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This. When I Was Your Age, the White Stuff, I actually think is pretty good. Like, New Kids on the Block aren't that good, but Weird Al has this talent that if an original artist does a bad song, Weird Al, 9 times out of 10, is most likely to make that song actually good. Because the Right Stuff out of New Kids on the Block, that's not a great song. But the White Stuff is awesome. So, yeah. And Taco Grande. I cannot roll my R's if my life depended on it. But, yeah. Taco Grande is funny as well. The Plumbing Song by a parody of Milli Vanilli, which I don't know why anyone would want to parody them. But, that's still a great song. And the final one, You Don't Love Me Anymore. Again, just a great, dark, humorous song. A darkly humorous love song. Like, Weird Al is like a master at those type of songs. And in 93, he did Alappuzha. And this one is alright. Like, it's not his best by any means. It's just okay. Like, Jurassic Park, like, that's pretty good. Bedrock Anthem, that's awesome. And Achy Breaky Song, again, like with the White Stuff, he can make a song that is pretty unbearable into something that's listenable. And yeah, Achy Breaky Heart, the song, is not that great. But Achy Breaky Song is kind of good. Living in the Fridge is Aerosmith parody. When I first heard he did an Aerosmith parody, I was like, what? Because I'm a huge fan of Aerosmith, as you all know. And so I heard it, and it was pretty good. But other than that, one more thing I have to mention. He did a polka on here, but it was an unusual polka. Because it only contained one song, Bohemian Polka, which was basically a polka version of Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. And it's really interesting to listen to. It's pretty cool. So in 1996, he did Bad Hair Day. And that's a great album. Like, really, really great. Amish Paradise, gangsta stuff right there. And, pretty cool contrast with the gangsta imagery of the original and taking it with something as boring and bland as the Amish, but it's still really funny. And Calling in Sick is really cool as well. Everything You Know Is Wrong is great as well. The alternative polka, awesome 90s alternative songs turn into polka songs. And Phony Calls, Gump. There's a lot of great parodies on here. Syndicated Incorporated, originally Misery by Soul Asylum is great as well. And The Night Santa Went Crazy, again, great dark Christmas song. That is mandatory Christmas songs, you know. Should be right up there with Santa Claus Is Coming to Town and Jingle Bells and all that type of stuff. So in 1999, he did Runnin' with Scissors. And again, great album. The Saga Begins, a Star Wars theme song. And my favorite of his Star Wars songs. It pretty much at the time it came out, I think it came out like a month before Phantom Menace. And if you listen to it, it pretty much spoils the movie for you. But considering that I'm the only one in this world that actually likes Phantom Menace, I wouldn't have minded that at all. It was originally on like Radio Disney CD or something like that, which is how I first heard of Weird Al anyway. Like, first heard it like way back then. And I didn't even know who he was at the time. But years later when I surfed on YouTube, I found it. Like, oh, yeah. I remember listening to that when I was younger. Oh, that's him. So, yeah. But, My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder is a Zydeco type song. And it's really cool. And it's probably the only Zydeco song I will ever get away with listening to. Because I'm not a huge fan of that type of music. But it's pretty interesting. Pretty fly for a rabbi. Parody of Offspring's pretty fly for a white guy. And Jerry Springer is pretty cool as well. Germs, 9 Inch Nails style parody. Polka Power is really, really good as well. Your horoscope for today, all about the Pentiums. Albuquerque. Let me tell you something about Albuquerque. It's probably his best original song. Because it's 11 minutes. And I love long songs that can kind of just go on forever. And he did great here. He pretty much tells a wacky story about going to Albuquerque when he's 26 and a half years old. And like, do yourself a favor and listen to that song, because that is just a great song. So in 2003, he did Poodle Hat. And like I mentioned, this was the first album, Weird Al album, that I owned. And I listened to that album on repeat forever. Like, I thought it was just so good. And it has the Eminem parody, which is okay. I'm really not a huge fan of Eminem. But, I do like Eminem. So, I do like Couch Potato. And Hardware Store, that's a great original song. Angry White Boy Polka, I don't think is one of his better polkas, because I'm not really huge into all the new metal type stuff, but it's still pretty cool. Wanna Be Your Lover, great Beck trying to sound like Prince style parody. Like some of the cheesiest pickup lines you could ever imagine, and they're all in there. So, yeah. And A Complicated Song, parody of Avril Lavigne, that's pretty good. Ode to a Superhero, awesome parody of Billy Joel. Pretty much tells the story of the original Spider-Man, which I think is superior to the newer Spider-Mans that are coming out right now. But that's just me. And Why Does This Always Happen to Me? Great dark song, style parody of Ben Folds. eBay is pretty good. Again, better than the original, though that's not really saying much since the original was by Backstreet Boys. But Ingenious and Friends, again, another long song that's really good. Style of Frank Zappa, and Frank Zappa is awesome, and Al pretty much nails the style of Frank Zappa. And it's really, really cool. And so we have Straight Outta Lynwood. And this one is pretty cool as well. And Straight Outta Lynwood might be my favorite Weird Al album. Really, every song on there is pretty good. And really the only song that's kind of a miss is Canadian Idiot, which is a parody of American Idiot by Green Day. Like, one, it's kind of predictable. It's kind of obvious. And two, it's pretty much the same Canadian jokes we've all heard, But, it's still a cool song to listen to. But, that is kind of a miss on there. And White and Nerdy, great parody, mainly because I can relate. And his Polka Medley is great on here as well. Confessions Part 3 is hilarious. Definitely check that one out. And Close But No Cigar, a great cake style parody. And Pancreas, cool Brian Wilson solo smile type parody, you know. And Trapped in the Drive-Thru, that's a funny one. Parody of R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet. That's really funny. And Don't Download the Song, awesome as well. So Straight Outta Lynwood, maybe my favorite Weird Al album, kind of up there with N3D and stuff. But I think Straight Outta Lynwood probably would be my favorite Weird Al parody. So some time passes, and in 2011, we get Alappuzha. And I was really waiting for this album. And when I got it, it was pretty cool. Though the thing that kind of bothered me was the fact that I had already heard half the album before it was released because of the whole Internet Leaks EP and all that stuff. But yeah, so Perform This Way, I'm not a huge Lady Gaga fan. I kind of like some of her stuff, but she's just not for me. But I do like the parody. I think it's good. To CNR, not a huge White Stripes fan, and it's a White Stripes type style parody. So, and Skipper Dan, that's a good one, kind of a Weezer type thing, alternative rock style parody. Polka Face, that's a decent polka. And Craigslist, that's a good style parody of The Doors. Ringtone style parody of Queen, that's it. Queen. And I find that some of the originals on here are better than the parodies, but that's just me, you know. And Whatever You Like, that's a good one. And Stop Forwarding That Crap to Me is awesome. An awesome Jim Steinman Meatloaf type parody, and the production values on it are awesome. So overall, Alappuzha it's a decent album. Certainly not his best by any means, but it's at least entertaining. And so now we have the brand new one that just came out yesterday called Mandatory Fun. And I've been waiting for this album like forever. And the hype that it's just been amazing. And it's always a cool feeling when you know that there's a new Weird Al album out in the world. And I just got it yesterday, and it's kind of a bit too early to tell, but I think it's really good. The first track is Handy, which is a parody of Fancy by Iggy Azalea, however you say that name. And when I first heard the parody, I wasn't too keen on it. I just didn't think it was that funny. But it's kind of been growing on me. I've been listening to it, and it's been growing on me. It kind of reminds me of the Plumbing Song and Hardware Store and those type of songs. Number 2, Lame Claim to Fame, which is a style parody of a band called, cannot think of their name right now. I'll have to look it up, but I really don't know the band's name, but it's a great style parody of that sound, and it's a band I've never heard of. I know that for sure, but it's a really cool one about all these minor celebrity run-ins and a lame claim to fame, and that's a really funny one. Foil is a great parody of a Royalist by Lord. I never heard the original, but it's really cool, and I love how it just goes from it's like keeping your food covered up to an alien conspiracy, and I just love that kind of turnaround. And number 4, Sports Song, which is a style parody of the marching songs of college football things and all that stuff. I'm not a huge sports fan, but I am in a place where sports means a lot to a lot of people, so it's pretty funny to listen to his take on it. Number 5, Word Crimes, probably one of his best parodies, along with Tacky, and I'll get to that in just a second. But Word Crimes, definitely probably the best off the album. It's about good grammar, which a lot of people are missing these days. But it's a great song. My Own Eyes is a style parody of the Foo Fighters. And really, Foo Fighters I like Foo Fighters, but they do have sort of a kind of standard rock sound, you know. This one's pretty cool, and it's one that's been growing on me. And the polka medley, now that's why I call polka. That's a good one. It's filled with songs that I don't really listen to, but Weird Al does make them very listenable, especially stuff like LMFAO's Sexy and I Know It and Wrecking Ball and Best Song Ever and all that stuff. A is Mission Statement. I think it's the weakest song on the album. I'm not a huge fan of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash style, but it's just not that funny to me. 9, Inactive, parody of Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. It's kind of boring, but it's still entertaining. And the original was boring anyway, but still. And 10, First World Problems, which is a style parody of the Pixies. And that's a really good one. It's kind of, I can definitely relate to that. My house is big as a kitchen, and I can't get Wi-Fi or something like that, is what he says. And it's just all this type of stuff that a lot of everybody can really relate to, and that's really funny. Tacky, again, probably one of his best parodies ever. Parody of Pharrell is Happy. And it's really cool. And 12, Jackson Park Express. And it's a style parody of Cat Stevens, who I actually happened to celebrate a birthday with. So that's pretty cool, I guess. And, it kind of takes a little bit for it to get started, but really once it kind of finds its groove a little bit around the 2-minute mark, it becomes really funny. And the production value is, again, just amazing, awesome 9-minute song. And this might be his last physical CD, and if it is, he went out with a bang. And I think he's going to do some digital distribution stuff. Like, he's going to release like singles and EPs on like iTunes and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see how that comes out. So Weird Al, I'm a huge Weird Al fan. I love all his music, even some of the stuff that's not quite as good, I still really like. And so that's it for this episode of the Metal Matt Podcast. And next time, we will be going into the jungle, because the next artist will be Guns N' Roses.